Welcome to this video tutorial. I want to share with you a top band 10 mark answer from paper 1 2019 question 6. This is asking you for 2 disadvantages of using personal documents. Quick reminder about what the 10 mark outline and explain is. It is a 10 mark question. It is 15 minutes to answer, making sure you've got 2 clear paragraphs. You don't need an intro or conclusion. It will always ask you for reasons, ways, effects, strengths, weaknesses and so on. Make sure that you read the question very carefully. The question will give you some hooks. Just make sure that you show application of knowledge, and these questions will only appear as a theory and method question on paper 1 or paper 3 and in the topics on paper 2. So check out the question that we're going to look at today. So just breaking that down, it's asking you to outline and explain, and this means state the point and explain it into clear and distinct paragraphs. Making sure that we are showing application to documents. So if you can, link it to a study where they use this method. For example, you might refer to Thomas and Zanecki's Polish letters from the immigrants to America. And this is really important because some of the disadvantages, such as access, may apply to other methods. So you might need to state a characteristic of a personal document, e.g. the letter might be in a private collection, to make it very specific to what the question is asking. And then finally, offer some analysis. And this just means that you can go into a little bit more detail. So does it pose any further problems? So in the case of a document, you might even apply some of Scott's criteria. Taking a glance at the mark scheme, in particular the top band, your answer should have very good knowledge and understanding of the disadvantages of 2 problems of using personal documents. And this is going to be shown through keywords, concepts which are relevant, and any of these specialist terms will be explained to show that you understand what they are. There will be 2 applications of the relevant material. So making sure you're given an example of a document, given a characteristic of it to explain why there is a disadvantage of using it. And lastly, appropriate analysis, and that is where you can possibly look at the impact of this disadvantage. You can link to further problems if you digged a little bit deeper into it. So here's a sample paragraph of a student answer, and they start off by using the wording from the question. A practical disadvantage of using a personal document is accessibility. And they then need to apply it to an example of sociological research and apply it to an example of a document. So for example, it may be private property to an individual, or it might be in a private collection or in a museum. And then they give an example of what they could be. So Anne Frank's diary, paintings of childhood like Uri studied. And then you can explain why is this a disadvantage. So it might be unavailable, or it might require a cost to access it, and this might reduce the amount of documents that you may analyse. And then we're going into a little bit further of analysis. We're linking further problems. So this might reduce the representativeness of an already unrepresentative resource. Historically, diaries and paintings were from the middle class who had literacy to write or the money to have paintings of themselves. And then we've got a final bit of analysis which is logically applied. Yet despite this, interpretivists would prefer this method as it might be the only way to successfully gain insight into the past or historical events. So that is how you might write a paragraph. What about a second paragraph? Here are some prompts from the mark scheme so you can have a go at answering a second paragraph. Just follow the structure that I went through and have a little bit of a go and check back with the mark scheme right from the beginning. Now, the examiner report is always a very useful insight to what the examiner was looking for. And something important to note was that this answer was the lowest mean mark on the paper. Now, this is possible due to students running out of time, which might indicate that timing might be an issue. But it might also indicate a lack of confidence in this method, e.g. practical problems of documents. However, the majority could give a reasonable disadvantage and show application to studies that have used this method with reference to different forms of personal documents. Many did struggle to sustain the explanation and offer analysis though, with some offering evaluation as a bolt-on or tagged on strength at the end. And a final reminder of this is that in that final paragraph that this would not be rewarded. So overall, when answering a 10-mark outline and explain, remember to show AO1 knowledge of both parts of the question. In this case, it was the disadvantages and the personal documents. Show an application by stating the characteristic of that document to explain why it becomes a disadvantage, and offer that further explanation, that analytical point to finish. So massive thank you for watching. As always, if you have found it useful, please click like. Any questions or comments, pop them in below. And I have linked to some other 10 markers, such as looking at historical documents, and you've got your past papers and all your resources from AQA down below. Okay, thank you. See you soon.